Hello everyone and welcome to episode 3 of Creatures of the Realm. Tonight we're going to talk about, of course, creatures from the Monster Manual, Dungeons & Dragons. I am running a vampire campaign in White Wolf Studios every other Saturday, and episode number 2 is tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central Time. That being said, but tonight we're going to have a blast talking about Dungeons & Dragons, talking about the creatures in the Monster Manual, and I'll be talking about the Hag. The Hag is a very, very cool creature to really, really look at. Now, we're going to talk about what the Hag can do before we get into a lot of aesthetics about the Hag. We're going to talk about what is advantageous for the Hag in your campaign. But before we do that, let's go over what the Hag can do. She represents, she's evil, she's cruel, she is a force to be reckoned with. Now, folks, Hags, they come in all forms. They look old, decrepit. Not all of them can look like that. All depends on how you want to run your game. That's the important thing. You got to remember, it's all about how you run the game. The book has a very interesting point of view. Now, she's frayed, she's got moles, a crooked nose, long gray hair. That is the Hag portrayal, but she's very powerful. She can disguise herself in many different forms. Now, if you want to do an illusion to trick your party, and then the Hag changes its form, by all means, do so. It intensifies the sword, it brings things up the way you want to in your game. Oh, by the way, Happy New Year. I hope everyone had a good Christmas and a Happy New Year. This is, a good year, 2026, headed on. Anyways, let's continue with the Hag. I'm kind of running a little backwards tonight. A little out of sorts, but it's okay. The Hag has a multitude of powers. It has spellcasting. She's arrogant. They're all arrogant. Can you imagine an ant or someone in your group that has this individual who is always spying and looking from afar? Crystal ball, a big, just drum or pot. I'm sorry, a big pot of stew. That typical, if you want to look at a lot of the Disney portrayal of Hags, the Wicked Witch, stuff like that. The Hags are usually the one that, hey, here's the apple. Very different shows and very different movies. If you can look at the portrayal of the Hag and what they do. Now, Hags are very, very unique, very powerful, and it all depends on how you run the Hag. Because, folks, you got to remember, the portrayal of the Hag, again, she doesn't have to look wicked. She, a crooked nose, pimples on her nose, the forehead protruding, whatever. That is the typical portrayal of the Hag. But you don't have to do that. You can go ahead and make her look very young, and then change her into the portrayal of what we all know. There's always a bargain. In campaign 2, the players dealt with the Hag. She made a deal with one of the players. And that deal created a lot of problems. Those problems intensified, and that became the root, believe it or not, of the campaign, because later on they would reflect back to that hag. Because hags have that intense control over a situation. And we'll get into that shortly. How the hags have different colors. We all know this. We all know that in the D&D world you have the spells, whole person, identify, stuff like this, polymorph. You have those intense spells. You have a level 4 spell, 3 slots, stuff like that. The polymorph is very, very cool to have. Again, you don't have to have the hag like she normally is. You could polymorph her and then change her own. What makes the hag just amazing? We're going over the Green Hag, especially. Let's look at her stats. Natural armor. She's a medium fae. She's neutral evil. Always going to be looking at herself, how she manages to control the situation. It's not about you. It's not about anyone else but her. The Green Hag will always be there, will always control the situation, will always be 10 steps ahead of you. At least in my campaigns now. She has a challenge rate of a 3, 700 XPs. But folks, again, Green Hags can be a higher level. You can homebrew her. Because again, the amazing thing about this hag, especially the Green Hag, armor class is 17, your hit points is 82. That may not be a big deal, but when you're starting off at low level between 1 and 3, it is a big deal. But even though later on, Green Hags can move up to a challenge rate of 5, which is 1800 XP. You gotta remember, the hags have different covens. Other covens that they deal with, that they are a part of, which they gain their strength. They have dark vision, all that stuff. Arcana, perception, deception, all that stuff. Because the hag has to be manipulating the situation, no matter what. The hag can breathe air and water. I went over hags earlier in season 1 of Creatures of the Realm, but I'm sort of bringing this evil, fictitious character because I want to, for one, I'm running vampire, but this, again, to keep the dark nature of things going. And I want to bring up characters or creatures to really intensify things. And the Green Hag in any campaign is a force to be reckoned with. It's just my opinion. But you know what? Let me continue on. She can speak Draconic in common. Very intelligent. You may think that 13 isn't a big deal, but it will be. Again, you could homebrew the Green Hag. You can manipulate these attributes just a little bit, not too much. You don't want to stray away from what the character in the Green Hag is. If you want to make her a little bit intelligent, fine. You want to give her a little bit of speed, you can with dexterity. Keep wisdom and charisma pretty much the same. That's what I would do. As I said, she could breathe in air and water. That's awesome. For those of you who think, hey, I'm going to dump water on her, or I'm going to grab her, put her underneath the water to try to kill her, it's not going to work. Again, I said she's innate with spellcasting. Big deal, the Green Hag. This is what she can do. Dancing Lights, Minor Illusion, and Vicious Mockery. Very, very, very cool spells. Vicious Mockery, for example. You could, this is all role-playing moments. Insults laced with enchantments. That's cool. But these insults can be devastating. The range is 60 feet. It's verbal. It's instant. And the target, or the player, has to make a save, wisdom save. And it has psychic damage. Not bad. Not bad. Let's continue on. She's got claws. Again, you have the crooked nose, protruding forehead. It might have a dozen pimples, broken skin, smell. She doesn't have to smell, but she has that witchy look. Long gray hair, stuff like that. She has a heart in her hand. She has a basket of dead flowers and maybe a rabbit that's dead that she killed earlier. Stuff like that. Give your players an intense feel, an intense vision, description, 5 senses, your look, how she looks, how your feel, your taste, all of it. Bring that out into your descriptions. This is awesome. Mimicry. Imagine being in a forest and you hear a bird. So you look at a bird, and it's not a bird. It happened to be a hag in the distance. She had tricked you because she can mimic animal silence and human voices, which is great. An insight check, DC 14. The DC can vary, even though it gives you a DC 14, it can vary, depending on, it's all situational, folks. She has claws, a +6 to attack, to hit. Fantastic, claws. 2d8 +4 slashing damage. That is pretty intense. Again, at low levels. But imagine this hag being a higher level. Very, very forced to be reckoned with. What makes her incredibly powerful? She can turn invisible. That's amazing. If you're using 2024 rules, not so much. But 2014, yes, invisible, unless she attacks or does something to lower her visibility. If she leaves no physical evidence of her invisibility, no evidence of passage, she can only be tracked by magic. If she has any equipment, anything that she wears with her, she has maybe a dagger, maybe a magic sword, maybe a small pearl crown, whatever it is she has, it stays invisible with her. Very, very powerful situation. And the Green Hag, it can cover herself with illusion because she has power, which is fantastic. Now, these spells can change. Don't get me wrong. You could manipulate them. Again, homebrew the hag, make it look, make it feel, make the hag be a part of your campaign. If she's in a cave, make her in a cave. If she's in a town, maybe she holds in the distance the old house in the outskirts of town that people are afraid to go to. The hag, Delona, her name is. Everyone's afraid of Delona. She's silent, never heard from, she's never seen. She comes out at night, even though there's night hags, but she comes out at night. Or maybe she comes out in the morning, every now and then, to pick some apples. Kids come by, anyone comes by, then that's when she strikes. You hear a sound of a bird, you see a fox, you see a wolf, whatever it is, that Green Hag is there. And what does she do? Jeez. What does she do? She strikes in any way, shape, or form. Anyone from the Hag coven, if they're within 30 feet of each other, so if there's any other hag with her, they share spells. Identify, ray of sickness. Very, very cool thing. And identify, guys, is cool. You remember in what movie was it? Out here, guys. It was. I'm trying to remember the movie. I can't think about it. It's a cool movie. It's they had the hag, and they went to see her, and they wanted information. I think it was Dark Crystal. Yes, Dark Crystal. Yes, a good scene with the hag in there. Even though the hag doesn't have to be human either. The hag can be a bird. The hag can be whatever you want it to be. That's amazing with your mind, theater of the mind, that you could create nothing and make something. A green hag, a night hag, whatever hag you want. You want it to be a creature. You want it to be a human. You want it to be whatever. It doesn't have to be exactly the way the book wants it to be. And identify is pretty cool. You have an item you want to identify. She has that ability. She can help you, but for a price. That's what hags do. Remember that. And she can hold you. So if you trifle, piss her off, she can hold you, stop you in mid-sentence. And hold person is a very, very powerful spell. Yeah. Casting time, one action, but it's 60 feet. And it's verbal, somatic, other components. You have a will save, depending on her abilities, guys. Locate object. Imagine there's an object that she's looking for. If you have, you might be in town. You might arrive in town, and all of a sudden, she knows you're there. She knows the objects that she wants. So what does she do? She lures you towards her. And then you have a battle with the Green Hag, the big bad of the game. Or maybe just an interim, big bad. Maybe just a minor creature, a minor adversary. Bestow curse. There we go. You touch a creature, and that creature must succeed a wisdom saving. Fantastic, guys. If they fail the wisdom saving throw, then they're cursed. You have disadvantage in attack rolls. While cursed, the target must make a wisdom saving throw at the start of each turn. If it fails, it wastes its action that turn doing nothing. While the target is cursed, your attacks and spells deal an extra 1d8 necrotic damage on die. And, folks, remove curse, of course, if you have a cleric in your party. Very advantageous to have a cleric. You know, you need that remove curse thing. If you don't have it, then you're screwed. But there's a whole bunch of hags, guys. There is a green hag, a night hag, and a sea hag. They're all great. Love hags, and they're great. They're part of the story, part of lore. What is great about hags? They are all part of lore, all part of fantasy, all part, even sci-fi. Hags are there. They're in a story in one shape or another. Hags are going to be there, and what makes them great is they don't have to be the main ender of their story. They don't have to be the big bad. They can be a minor antagonist. They're the ones that bring out the story. In season 2, campaign 2, I had my hag, and she dealt with Alexander. And Alexander and her really had a connection, and there was no battle, no fight, but she did say, I want you to do something for me in turn. They made a pact. And it was that pact that determined certain outcomes in the longevity of the game, in the future of the game, which they didn't know. I knew it. They didn't know. There were certain paths, certain directions that they could have went. But if it wasn't for that hag, it would have never happened. And maybe some will look at it as positive, some will look at it as negative, depending on how you look at it as players, or however you want to run your character in the game. You know, hags can be a very unique creature to have in the game. Let's take a look at it. I have her stat sheet up. Okay, so one of the biggest problems with hags is they have that foul nature. They're disfigured, but they master illusion or polymorph to disguise themselves who they really are. And the way to combat these hags, to really combat them without fighting them, without her using spells, is to do it through words. Bring her down, but not down. Encourage her, but take away that encouragement. If you want to make a pact with a hag, do it with your favor. Make sure that everything goes in your favor and not hers. It's going to be difficult, because hags are very conniving. And once you break that mold, you have control. Now, hags dwell in dark and twisted woods. Again, this is out of storybooks and legend and lore. You know, the Hansel and Gretel. You know, you have this individual in the forest, in the cabin, in a castle. It can be wherever you live. It doesn't have to be that typical lair. But, mind you, if you are in her lair and she knows, she is not going to like it. There's usually quicksand, poison, bogs, stuff like that. maybe a cluster of trees or vines that block your way from getting into her lair. She's not going to like it. That's a hag for you. And if there's 3, you're in deep shit. Because 1 hag is powerful. Dealing with 3, you're going to have to think smart. Every action, every movement must be taken lightly. Because hags, not only are they powerful, they can manipulate a situation. And I just said that if they're within 30 feet within each other, these 3 hags of lore, they can manipulate their spells. They can share spells. One has Identify Ray, one has Locate Object, the other one has Contact Another Plane. What does that do? Let's take a look. You mentally contact a demigod, the spirit of a long dead sage, or some other mysterious entity from another plane. Can you imagine that? Imagine that. Just take your time and think about what I just read. You can contact a demigod from another plane. But if you fail the saving throw, which is an intelligence check, you take 66 damage. Which means, things happen that are bad. So, when you contact a demigod, you know it's going to be difficult and powerful. And imagine 3 hags in one location. That alone is scary. Phantasmal Killer. Very, very cool spell. See what it does. Okay, Phantasmal Killer. You tap into nightmares of creatures you can see within the range and create illusionary manifestations of deepest fears, visible only to that creature. Wow. Very cool, guys. Very cool. What does that do? Imagine you have a player, and the player is scared of feared of mice or rats, and when the hag picks up on that, or she's going to make it a living hell for you, because you're going to see a crap load of rats around you. You're going to see a bunch of rats running towards you, or maybe bugs. Bugs are my thing. I don't like bugs. I'm afraid of bugs. I don't like any bug. So imagine having some form of fear and intensifying that through nightmares. When you go to sleep, maybe your party happens to be near a fire, or you're getting ready to rest. And as you rest, these dreams, and in these dreams you see these rats or bugs or whatever. The hag is going to give you nightmares, and it's going to be a living hell for you. Eye bite. This one's funny. Alright. Eye bite. For a spell's duration, your eyes become inky void of imbued with dread power. One creature of your choice within 60 feet of you that you can see must succeed a wisdom saving throw, or be affected by one of the following effects of your choice for a duration. This is On each of your turns until the spell ends, you can use the action to target another creature, but can't target the creature again if it has succeeded in a saving throw. That's fantastic. It's one casting time. It's self. It's verbal and somatic. Duration of it. It's a wisdom saving throw. Target. You fall unconscious, asleep, wakes up. It takes damage to another creature. Uses its action to shake the sleeper awake. Panic. Target is frightened of you. On each of your turns, the frightened creature must take a dash. So this is a very, very cool thing to have. And that is part of what a hag can do. And I'm specifically talking about the Green Hag because I think she's cool. At will, dancing lights. Dancing lights, and this is without her fellow coven members. It's a cantrip, easy, 120 feet, right there. What that does, you create up to 4 torch-sized lights within range, and I'm dancing because I like the name of the dancing lights. Making them appear as torches and lanterns, glowing orbs that hover in the air. For a duration, they could also combine the 4 lights into one glowing, vaguely humanoid form of medium size. Whichever form you choose, each light sheds dim light in 10-foot radius. It's fun. It's really cool. Again, it's aesthetics. It's all looks. It's all feel. But folks, that is the Green Hag. That's what she does. Imagine all these things. Imagine her waiting for her prey in the cabin in the woods. Gotta remember, she won't come out to you. She will make you come out to her. She will have her control. You will not have control. I guarantee you. That's just the way it works. This is an old lady in the woods, not making a sound. But when she does, it's the sound of a bird, the sound of a fox. Maybe, moving throughout the woods, breaking the leaves. You can see the fox tail. And you, party of 5, see this fox moving about. You see something strange. You roll an insight check. The fox is moving nonchalantly like that. Hey, it's moving around, but it moves fast. They ask the party, what do you do? And they move about. It's just a fox. Then they start seeing more animals. Somehow, they pick up on it. They realize that these animals are calling to them. Follow me. The party, being careful, follows. Or maybe we don't. Gotta remember, every party's different. And not every cookie or cracker you have on the path, the party's not gonna go for it. Or maybe they will. But it's up to you to slowly trickle in. And the way you do it is by enhancing the senses. We're in the forest. You hear the birds. You hear the wildlife, but then you don't. And as you move forward, something intensifies. The wildlife, the birds, the deer, the foxes. Something is calling. It's almost beautiful. But as the party reaches the hag's lair, they see vines, trees connected, vines all over. Vines animate, make a statement. Nothing really major, just a string. Maybe a deck save, to be fair. They notice that vines are alive. So they move out of the way, they made it beyond the vines, and they see in between them some form of water. Use of the water. We don't know how deep it is, but what they do is they go over the water, all of a sudden they realize that they're in some form of quicksand. They start to sink. You see, when you start describing the scene and making it intense, making the party believe that there's something there. But is there something there? Making the party focus on that particular moment. What makes role-play good, especially when you have a creature like the hag, she uses your senses to manipulate the situation. And once you do that, you use your senses to describe the trees, the leaves, the animals. And describing her power, when she reaches out with her power to control, to manipulate, mimicking sounds of human, bird, fox, a deer, stuff like that. Bring those characters, bring those individuals, those party members, those heroes to her, and they will, because heroes will always be heroes. Then there's party members that they're like, nope, we're gonna go the other way because it's too scary. But then, as they try to go elsewhere, as they see there's more vines, and the trees are sentient now. They're alive. And they stop them. So now they realize it's a trap. But is it a trap? Maybe it's just an illusion. I have them roll. And yes, it is an illusion. And they thought there were vines, and they thought there was quicksand. They see a house before them. The door is open. They all walk in. Carefully and cautious. Or maybe they don't. Or maybe they decide, nah, we're leaving. It's up to you as a DM to put your players in the situation, giving them freedom to discover. But always having that fear and intensity over them, over the situation, scrambling the situation, enveloping things, making things powerful enough so they can control the situation. They're the limelight. They're the stars of the show. The hag can be a minor character or a powerful antagonist. And the hags, to me, whether it's night hag, a green hag, or a sea hag, it doesn't matter. Hags are fantastic creatures to use in a game. Because not only are they master manipulators, they will control the situation. No matter what. And they don't have to move. You will come to them. Always. At least when I'm running it, they're not going to move. Why should they? They already have power. I've already told you what they have and how powerful they can be. The Night Hag alone. The next powerful hag. She does nightmare hauntings. Imagine a night hag being like Phantasm, stuff like that. A night hag, a movie to describe it. Stuff like that. Just imagine the hag being in your nightmares. This is what this night hag does. She can change shape. They all change shape. Any type of shape. Again, this particular hag is challenge rate of 5, 1800, but you can bring her up to a 7, which is 29 XPs, if she's part of a coven. That coven's a pretty cool thing, isn't it? Again, her stats are much higher. Protection from evil and good. Detect magic at will. Magic missile. Very cool. You know, this one has more protruding horns, more of a dark hair, long hair. Her hands are elongated, her claws, her nails are elongated. She has long robes, skulls around her waist. Very, very cool picture. Yeah, her attack is higher. Very, very cool. And then we have the lowest attack, which is the Sea Hag. But do not worry. The Sea Hag is in the water. And what's great about her, she has this death glare. She can frighten people at 30 feet, which is cool. Again, if she's in a coven, her challenge rating can go up, because this one is a challenge rating of 2, which is 450. Out of the 3, the Night Hag, yes, it's the most powerful, but you can manipulate those stats, create a much powerful hag at higher levels, and go from there. You can do that because hags are a force to be reckoned with. And if the coven, you could have a Night Hag, Green Hag, and then another sister, the being a Sea Hag. Nothing wrong with it. They are horrific appearance. Of course, you're frightened by the horrific appearance. Protruding nose, ears ripped, elongated mouth, skeletal, the woman's chest cavity sunken in, stuff like that. Again, description. The hags are very cool creatures to have in your games. And again, I will be going over creatures of the realm this season, darker, grittier creatures to match the tone of the campaign 3, which is Vampire the Masquerade. Just for you guys. I'm still doing D&D. Just, only on Fridays, Creature of the Realm. But that's primarily what I'm doing. And guys, I absolutely love the hags. They are, I'm not going to keep saying it. The hags are very cool. The hags bring out something deeper, stronger and especially if you have it covered. You don't have to have it covered, but if you have all three, the party is going to have a big problem. Well, let me see here. Anyways, that is all I have for you this evening. And tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central, Episode 2, Campaign 3, Vampire the Masquerade. Like, subscribe, let everybody know. Tomorrow we're going to have a blast. We're going to have our 3 new players. Out of the 3, one of them can't make it, Christian. He will be back the game after. And then hopefully we'll have the full party here, which is 6 players. But either way, we have a great game tomorrow. Check us out. I love you guys. Stay with us. Have a great evening. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.